You'll be glad to know that I did not attempt to flambe anything for tonight. And even if I did, we have high ceilings here, so we're okay. Earlier tonight, when I got here, somebody complimented me on my shirt, and it really got me to thinking about personal style and the way that we all present ourselves to each other. Back in high school, I was a very accomplished outdoorsman, and my style consisted of pretty much 90% REI dress. I had the long pants that were made of nylon and zipped off into shorts, and the hiking boots and the wool socks. And I grew up in Seattle, so I had the fleece and the Gore-Tex. We don't consider umbrellas to be high fashion in Seattle. It just doesn't rain, it just drizzles, so you need your Gore-Tex for a little heavier rain. You need your fleece to just protect yourself a little bit, and maybe a baseball cap to keep it off your glasses. But when I moved off to college in Ohio, which is, for all intents and purposes, the East Coast at this point, or most of my fellow students came from the East Coast, I was wearing a North Face fleece and a Gore-Tex jacket, and for some reason they thought that this was preppy wear. On the East Coast, apparently if you wear fleece, you're considered a preppy. My style sense completely changed for a lot of my friends. As I moved about and started studying more intensively, I became a politics major, and I started dressing a little differently. I actually earned the nickname BizCaz for all my friends. I started wearing a lot of khakis and dress shirts. And they called me BizCaz because it was so unusual at the hippie school that I went to. The usual dress would have been, for a woman, say, jeans and a nice flowing hippie skirt over the top, long billowing armpit hair sticking out. And I didn't fit in very well as a politics major in my khakis and my button-down shirt. But it was okay. I was a politics major. I was preparing for my next career. I was dressing for confidence. I learned some various style tips from various people. One woman told me men should always wear flat front pants. It's a fashion faux pas that I notice around NPS a lot, is they got a lot of pleated pants. So men out there wear the flat front pants. Looks a lot better, you like a little slimmer. Trust me, the women in your life will appreciate it. Am I right, women? They're laughing, but they know it's true. I eventually took up golf. I took a golf class, because as a politics major, I figured that I should learn to play with senators or people giving me money into my campaign someday. And I had a friend, the same friend who told me about flat front pants, who said she wanted to learn how to play golf for the clothes. She didn't want to play golf. She wanted to wear a little golf skirt and learn to play. A different friend who took the golf class with me was also learning to play golf at the same time. She introduced herself in every class as, I'm the other blonde senior politics major from Seattle. We had at least one class together every quarter. But she didn't let her personal style be dictated by the activity she had to do. So we had golf class one morning on a nice spring day, and she came out in a sundress and strappy white high-heeled sandals and tried to hit the ball. She didn't have very much power on her swing as she did that. Once I graduated, I moved to DC, where my business casual fashion sense came off a little better for people. I've heard a lot of sayings about your fashion sense when you're in business. People say, dress for success, or dress not for the job you have, dress for the job that you want. And that was a little interesting for me. I tried to emulate this personal style of my boss, and my boss had an interesting style. Not only did he wear pleated pants, I didn't go that far, but he liked to wear bright pink shirts with purple ties. My fashion sense got quite a bit more colorful. I had incorporated lime green and hot pink, not usual DC colors that you see. When I started my job out here in Monterey, I again was trying to emulate some of my boss's style. And my boss out here, although he had spent quite a bit of time in Washington, D.C., had a more California casual sense of style, which I think my uncle who lives in San Diego says in California, semi-formal means you have to wear socks. But California casual for my boss meant a lot of jeans, a lot of open neck shirts, little chest hair billowing out, loafers, polo shirts, golf shirts. So I went to a Halloween party last year. We're coming up on Halloween now. I was invited to a Halloween party. I didn't have a costume. I can't be like a woman and dress as a sexy ghost or a sexy nurse or a sexy anything else, because people don't really like it when I have a skirt like this long. But I decided, what's the next best thing? I'm going to a party with all my coworkers. What's the scariest thing I can imagine? I'll dress as my boss. My boss was right about the same height as me, and he was something of a clothes hound, despite his California casual fashion sense. And as he lifted or maybe got a little pudgier in his old age, some of his old shirts no longer fit me, and he donated them to me by the stack. Every time I go up to his house in San Jose, his wife, I think, was making him get rid of clothes. And he'd walk out with a pile of clothes this high, most of which I'd stake straight to Goodwill, and some really ugly ties from the 80s. So when I decided to dress as my boss, I actually wore one of his shirts and a pair of jeans, and I unbuttoned the shirt as far as it would go, and a nice sport coat on the top with some cigars in the pocket, and a golf club, and drew a goatee on to imitate him, and carried the one book he's managed to get published in my hand, and on my red beer cup, my coworkers wrote, "My publication," with an arrow. It's a good thing he never saw those pictures. I don't think he would have been happy. But that's really, so I've always had a tough time finding my own personal sense of style, because I have so many things that I like to do. I have a much larger closet than probably the average guy. When I started traveling around with him, I got to travel to Singapore and India, and I got to appreciate custom-made suits. The same friend who told me to wear flat front pants now tells me that I appreciate an English cut jacket with 2 vents in the back because people tell me I look like Hugh Grant. I don't know, maybe that's it, but still, I appreciate the custom suit. But I also still have that side that just wants to go back and roll around in the dirt and wear zip-off pants and go out to the Sierras every weekend. So I have a large closet, I have a lot of clothes. I'll mix and match it any given time. It's really hard to pin me down and choose exactly what I'm going to wear on any given day for any given Toastmasters speech. I could dress up, I could dress down, I'll come in dirt, I'll come in my campaign clothes. It's hard to pin me down as a personal style because it's hard to pin me down as a person. And I think that's one of the things that I really like about Toastmasters, is that on any given day, for any given meeting, you can choose who you want to be. You can choose what role you want to play for a given speech. You can be the always amazingly articulate Glenn Toll, stepping back and giving his Shakespearean bow as he has more alliteration. You can be fantastic storyteller Chance, who tells you about the cat who's about to pounce on his wife's head while she's at the computer. You can give funny speeches about your cat. You can give touching speeches about your kids with little messages after them, like Angie does. You can be a lifelong Toastmaster, like Carl, who has done all of the manuals 3 or 4 times each. Or you can be like one of my personal Toastmasters heroes, Kathy Lee, who is really trying to achieve something that's very difficult for her. She's working on improving her skills as a lawyer. And today, this afternoon, after the meeting, she was signing up for a speech, and she said, "Well, I'm doing my speech with visual aids. I have a hard time with PowerPoint. So I guess that's what I should work on. I guess that's what I should do." And she really takes the difficult steps, the challenges in life, and tries to achieve them, tries to take those steps. I really admire that. I really admire the thing about Toastmasters, that you get to choose who you are on any given day. You get to choose who you are for a meeting. You really get to work and achieve who you want to be in the long term. You get to choose your personal style. If you listen at the beginning of every meeting, we list off the purpose of a Toastmasters meeting. And yeah, it's about improving our public communication skills. But the thing that I like is about improving our self-confidence and our leadership skills. And I think that's just as important. I like Toastmasters. It helps me decide who I want to be, helps me get to be who I want to be. And occasionally, it even lets me wear a tux for it. I'm Toastmaster.